everybody, it's the Law Gnome, and welcome to the February 2017 Great Film Throwback Day. And today we're going to be taking a look at one of the Oscar winners for Best Picture, going back to 1992. This is a movie that is directed and starred in by one of the legends of his time and craft, Clint Eastwood, and it also stars Gene Hackman and Morgan Freeman. Unforgiven. This is the story of a man named William Money who had a very, very dark past. Thanks to the love of his life coming into his world, he decided to throw all of his evil away and just settle down, have a family, and try to make good in this world. Unfortunately, due to the passing of his wife, this actually happens before the movie even begins, and all of a sudden William Money is found by a young man who is trying to collect a bounty that is put out by a couple of prostitutes in a little town in Wyoming called Whiskeytown, that one of their girls was cut up by these two idiotic cowboys, and they want someone to punish them. So he hunts down William Money because of his checkered past and says, "Will you come with me for one last big score?" Reluctantly, he feels that this is something that he has to do. He goes and finds his friend who was his partner in crime, and they go to Whiskeytown to try and take care of business. But of course, there's never an easy road when it comes to trying to give justice to the world, because there is a sheriff in this town who is played by Gene Hackman, and he is not one of the most forgiving and kindest of law enforcers. And basically, it's all going to come down to one of those classic Western showdowns and see if evil or good will in fact triumph. And in this case, it's really unsure to see who is good and who is evil, and that's what makes this film so interesting. So, this is a movie that I feel I should have seen such a long time ago, especially considering the fact that this was a Western film. And the Western, for a whole many years, was not something that had been done in film for a while. And Clint Eastwood, who is someone who had been in many Westerns back in the 1960s and 70s, decided that it was time to bring it back in full force, and he gave us a darker, grittier kind of Western that actually paved the way for the way that Westerns look today. This movie is very well acted. It has a very good pace. I was actually surprised with how lighthearted this movie was. I'm also going to say that I got a little bit nervous because while I started watching this film, it did have a slower pace than I thought it was going to be, but most Westerns do, and I ended up falling asleep. So I felt that this was a really bad thing, but when I woke up the next morning, I was full of energy, I turned the movie back on, and it turned out that I was just tired. It had nothing to do with the movie itself, because I really thought that this movie was good. It is very well acted, it's got some amazing moments, and I just really enjoyed the whole atmosphere of this movie. I appreciated the realism of this movie. This didn't feel like one of those classic Westerns that has fantasy elements to it, because Westerns are pretty much how superhero movies and even science fiction space operas were created. The Western had a major factor to play in that. If you also take a look at movies like Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai, there's definitely a lot that Clint Eastwood took from Kurosawa and put into this film very, very well. I was blown away by how this movie ended, because a movie that was just so slow-paced and all of a sudden comes at you with a full force, it's definitely something worth watching. Do I think that it was worthy of Best Picture? I'm not surprised that it did get Best Picture, and I'm not surprised that Clint Eastwood got Best Director for revitalizing the Western. But knowing a whole bunch of the movies that did get nominated for Best Picture, I probably would have given it to A Few Good Men, because that movie just was so good. But this movie is very good too. It's definitely not one to miss. One of Clint Eastwood's best. If you haven't seen Unforgiven yet, I highly recommend it. Maybe you'll like it a little bit more than I did. It's not a movie that I would necessarily want to see thousands of times, and I don't want to own it on DVD either, because I just don't see myself really re-watching it as many times as some of my movies that I already have in my collection. But it's a good movie nonetheless. I'm giving Unforgiven 3 stars out of 4. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. Put your comments in the box below, and let's discuss Unforgiven, and I will see you in the next Throwback Day. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. If you're new here and want to see more of what my channel has to offer, please click on the link to my last video, or hit that subscribe button to be kept up to date with all of my uploads. Content of all sorts is posted here quite often, so trust me, you do not want to fall behind. I will see you in the comments, and actions speak louder than words.